wise men at their end, no dark is right, because their words had brought no lightning they. Do not go gentle into that good night.
You think I wanna fall in love when I'm not, babe? You want a life as a wife, but that's not my thing. You be at home all alone looking at the rain. I'm just gonna tell you straight, baby, I'm a
All right, what's going on, everyone? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you guys for joining me on your Monday morning. I'll be your captain for this stock market nuke. Feels like we have one of these every fucking year now, dude. I've been in markets for like 5 years, you know, pretty much. And I've already seen COVID, historically high inflation, and now a massive global trade war. So very, very interesting. I hope you guys are having a good one, surviving, thriving. And yeah, I think a lot of today's stream, or maybe not, hopefully a lot, but I think a lot of people are going to want to talk about, you know, the relative strength argument. So we'll do some yapping on that. I'll give you guys my thoughts on where I stand with all of that. But, you know, a little spoiler alert, like, I'm just trading the chart in front of me. If I'm going to be taking longs, I understand that I'm counter trend trading, right? All time frames are bearish. All trends are bearish. We're trading against, you know, we're trading against the weight of the world right now. The only notable thing going on for bulls is a lack of momentum that bears are displaying right now, right? We've been trading around these levels for, you know, 6 weeks. Where's the follow through? So we're going to talk about that, my kind of trade idea and stuff like that. And yeah, let's get caught up with chat real quick. I see some new names and faces, which is always pretty cool. Good morning, everyone. You're from Indonesia. Nice, bro. I have one friend from Indonesia, so now I have two. Tuck, I'm in the U.S. time zone and not at work. I know, bro. We're in the same time zone. Unreal. Go hang out with your family, though. Stop watching my stream. Enjoy your time off, man. You deserve it. Looking forward to your thoughts on Bitcoin in the broader sense. Yeah, 100%. Is it worth looking at global order books? I mean, maybe for you. I have no edge there. I just started looking at like order book data and stuff. So the way that I add stuff is very slowly, right? This is the way that my journey has been. Start with simple framework, very, very simple, right? Add complexity, right? Add something to this, and then test and test and test and test. And if it's actually helping me, I'll continue and I'll add it, right? And it's part of the system, through this testing phase. If it's not, I go back to square one. This is the way that I add things to my system. You guys know that I've been trading a lot of low time frame stuff. I've added a lot of volume tools over the past year. I've changed the time frame that I've traded, and that was over the course of several months, right? I took advantage of all of this. I was like, we have nothing to do on high time frame. I'm gonna go back into the lab and see if I can find new edges in different places. So with order book stuff, that's something that I'm looking at now, as far as like DOM ladder, heat maps and stuff. And I'm starting to, pick it apart and see if it's worthwhile adding and paying attention to, or if it's going to lead to too much complexity, in which case I'm probably going to prune it. At the end of the day, anything you want to add to your system, whether it's as simple as an EMA, needs to be tested and against what you're already using. If it's better, you're obviously going to add it. If it's not showing you any improved results, there's no point in having it. All it is added complexity, which is going to eventually lead you to having, conflicting signals. You'll be bullish on one system, bearish on another system, crabbish on the third system. What are you going to do with that information, right? That's where you go back into the lab and you prune. So just like I did last summer, which is toying with stuff, I'm starting to do a little bit of that again now. So yeah, should you look at global order books? That's up to you, man. Just take it the way that I said it. If you're gonna look at it, try to figure out, give it enough time to see if it's worthwhile and it's actually helping you as a trader versus hurting you or confusing you or contradicting things that you already know, right? Same as any other indicator out there. What up? What up? Hi from France. What up, man? Bonjour. You have a promo code for Paragon? I do. If you didn't ask that question, I probably would have forgot to bring this up. But yeah, it's stream sale. So there's a link in the bio. Hopefully I already put it in there. You add stream sale in, and I think it's 20% off. And I believe it's like 20% off all like deals, like 1 month, 6 months, 1 year. So you can like lock that in. We're not going to have this up for long. The reason we have this right now is because markets are shit and most people are like, fucking off. And this is like a time to reward people that are grinding, right? This will go away probably in a month or so like that. So yeah, take advantage. I'll just leave it on the screen for now while we get settled. Doc's lack of downside momentum calls are legendary. Yeah, I mean, that's what helped me buy the bottom here, right? And maybe we'll just get into this right now, but I'm almost done with chat. We'll get into it in a second. How many trades do you test new stuff for? It's for a time period. As the amount of trades, like in a low time frame system, you're going to be taking more trades. In a high time frame system, you're going to be taking less trades. I think you give yourself a quarter. So the way that I judge my performance is over quarter. So if I'm adding something in Q1 and now I'm adding stuff in Q2, I'm going to be testing it all throughout Q2. And at the end of Q2, I will do a review, and by then I'll already have like an inkling of what the data is going to look like. But by then I'll see, was there anything in this that actually helped me gain an edge versus what I was already doing? Did my hit rate go up? Did my quality of life improve? Meaning, was this allowing me to spend less time at the screens? Did it give me any positive impact in any regard whatsoever? And if it didn't, there's no use for it for me. right? Doesn't mean that it's not going to be any use for you or the next guy or the next guy. Just going to be for me, I'll go back to what I was already doing, right? And if it is improving, I'll hold on to it. So it's going to be 3 months. Okay, so let's talk about this, waning momentum. Actually, let's start off simple. Where are we? And I think the first thing to do is look at SPX. Now, I'm not going to pull up ES because I think there's a lot of confusion with the whole adjusted contract rollover stuff, which is important for certain time frames. And maybe I made a mistake by sharing those charts on high time frame. So we're going to keep it simple. We're going to stick to SPX. So, man, I didn't stream last week, so I got to put myself kind of in the shoes of 2 weeks ago of where we left off. Where we left off, right, my speculation was that, the 5,200 level, 5,500 level should provide a decent bounce, right? Which is right here, right? That was where I speculated on. I knew that 5,800 is going to be a mega resistance zone, right? You're losing a year and a half long trend on the high time frame on the weekly chart in SPX. That's going to cater to a bigger drawdown, right? Whether that's going to be, something small like this or something massive like what we've gotten, either way, it's going to be a very, very, very tricky place to reclaim immediately. I'd say the higher EV bet obviously is going to be aiming for lower. What I aimed for was about 5,100. Now we traded all the way down to 4,800, which is an even more extreme, sell-off than I anticipated. I thought 5,100 would provide some kind of contextual support, which is where we closed last week. 3 consecutive days of like a 4% gap down. Now, someone in chat, if you guys have the stats out there, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw a tweet this morning, or maybe it was yesterday, that the S&P 500 has not closed 4% down on 3 consecutive days since the Great Depression, which was almost 100 years ago. So we're kind of in this historical moment right now. If you just look at it from an eyeball perspective, which I'm sure all of you guys have, this thing is starting to look a lot like the COVID crash. I don't think we are there percentage-wise. I think this one was like 30-something percent, 35. I think we're at 22 right now. So we're not there in terms of drawdown, but in terms of severity, right, in this like nuclear fashion that we're selling off, it's resembling COVID crash. Now, one thing that the stock market has done historically well that crypto doesn't are V-shaped recoveries. We all know the kind of backdrop of this one, which was the liquidity injection, rates going to zero, QE, all that kind of stuff we know. But if you just look in this in a nutshell, pretty much any time the stock market has these massive nukes, whether they're 10%, 15%, 20%, they do end up having these kind of V-shaped recoveries. So I think speculating, if you're a long-term minded investor in stock market, put crypto on the side, a stock market investor, this is an opportunity for you to get exposure to the market. You've basically wiped out like 2 years of trading. No, okay, a year and a half. Basically, a year and a half of trading has been wiped out in like 2 weeks, right? Very, very strong amount of sell-off. So now let's move over to like the weekly trends. So the weekly trend has provided a lot of opportunity over the past like 10 or 15 years as well, right? Ever since we got out of this, the double bubble, 2008, dot-com bubble and 2008 financial crisis, and we started this massive uptrend, the weekly trend has provided a lot of support on SPX, right? Trading below it, who cares? It's the idea that we're going for here, right? We're not looking for this perfect signal with entry, stop loss, trigger, etc. We're looking for the region of where it's selling off, right? So a bunch of times throughout the last 10 years, the weekly trend has provided contextual support. Once again, we're trading into that region right now, right? So we've got all these kind of factors going for us right now to say that whether or not the stock market is Pico bottom this morning, I'm not going to make that call. I'm not going to say that we're Pico bottom today, but I do think we're in an opportunity period. I don't know if I'm willing to call V-shaped recovery, but either way, even if there's another drive down, I do think that's opportunity. Now, what does crypto have to do in this backdrop? It's got to show resilience or sideways or accumulation ranges, right? There's some coins out there that are doing that pretty well, right? The first thing that comes to my mind is like FARTCOIN, right? It needs to go sideways. It needs to create a bottom. It needs to make a higher high over the high that led to the low. It needs to start forming one of these, right? So I believe some coins are starting to form their accumulation ranges. I think Pepe setting a higher low this morning as well. Some coins are just in free fall, right? If we look at Solana, which I'll pivot to real quick, right? Losing multiple month support at 120 is not a good look on Solana, right? So would I say this is the start of an accumulation range on Solana? Absolutely not. I think it needs a lot of work before it can round off and we can start speculating an upside. This is the first bear cross on Solana since 2021. or 2022, February 2022, right? So we've been in a uptrend since Q4 of 2023. Basically, FTX bottom, higher low, flip the weekly trends bullish, hold the weekly trends as support last summer, bear cross on the weekly, right? So it doesn't look good. You know, I don't think it makes sense to call hero ball, you know, bottoms in on Solana. There's no contextual clues on that. But now we pivot to Bitcoin, right? And I think Bitcoin looks pretty interesting. It doesn't look good on the high time frame, meaning we're trading below the weekly trend. It doesn't look good on the daily, meaning we're trading below the daily trend. And, you know, we've been bearishly rejecting this for a couple months now. But there's a little bit of momentum loss. There's a little bit of inkling of, well, if things are so bad, why isn't this worse, right? And that's what's helped me over the years speculate on bottoms. It all starts with a theory. It all starts with an idea. It all starts with speculation. It later gets confirmed, right? So, you know, going back all the way to FTX, why was I able to buy these lows? The reason being, this was the worst event of the bear market, right? We had, you know, first a deleveraging. Then we had the Luna collapse, right? Where Luna had a bunch of leverage. They were buying Bitcoin. That collapse was brutal for all markets. Then we had 3AC, all the lenders blowing up, all the creditors blowing up, right? Everything that 3AC was exposed to needed to be sold and liquidated, right? So this was a massive, brutal, devastating run on crypto. But then what did Bitcoin do? For 6 months, it went sideways. And during this sideways span where Bitcoin actually set higher lows, if we pull up, let's see if we can pull up SPX right here real quick. I believe SPX actually set lower lows. It did, right? So SPX was still in a downtrend while Bitcoin started to round off. People didn't have much conviction that the turbo bottom was in. Noises for like 12K, 8K, this kind of stuff were very, very loud at the moment down here. Then we got FTX. That was a moment where the confidence in going lower diverged with the momentum, right? If we're so bearish and we're going to go to 0 and we're going to go to 8K and 12K and all these things, why then did Bitcoin only trade like 10 or 15% lower than our last low? 12% lower, right? It traded 12% lower when the worst event of this bear market hit crypto, which is FTX and $10 billion of customer funds being wiped out. Why did we go lower? Why are we not continuing this momentum, right? Anytime you have a range breakdown, right? So if you have like auction market theory or even trading ranges, if you're consolidating in a place for a long time and then you break down, you would expect momentum to continue in that direction. Why then did momentum not continue downwards? Why did it start rounding off? This is momentum confidence divergence, right? This is like a form of news absorption. So that was a long-winded explanation. I don't need to do that again for this moment, right? Which was last summer, which is what we talked about here on the stream for weeks and months on end, right? This is kind of very public, my thought process of going through this and seeing, well, the worst event of this summer was the Japan yen trade. Why did that not nuke us below? Why are we still slurping up? Why are we still sitting in this range? Why are we now potentially forming a higher low, which could lead to a higher high? This is where I started getting allocated to the market. So do we have that yet? No, we don't. But do we have like a little bit of taste, a little bit of like curiosity? I think we do. And that simple thing is, why is Bitcoin not falling off a cliff? Why are we not trading 20% lower? Why are we not nuking to oblivion? Why every time do we get bids under this level? Something you got to ask yourself, right? So are we there yet? Should we say up only? Should we full port Bitcoin? I don't think so. I just think that it's the first kind of light bulb going off that's saying, if we once again today, tomorrow, this week end up holding above 79K, I think there's an argument to be made that you can long here with your invalidation simply being not to make a lower low, right? I think that you could get heavy exposure with a very clear-cut invalidation at this point if we start slurping up above 79K. I myself, for the first time in, I think, 3 months, I sold whenever the Melania stuff happened, when you know, Solana hit all-time high that weekend. That was pretty much my complete deleveraging from crypto. I had sold stuff on the way up with Pepe and stuff like that, but whatever bags I had remaining, that was like, get the fuck out of the market, right? That was my moment. So it's now 3 months later, and I'm picking up a little bit of spot Bitcoin. I haven't exposed myself too much heavily to the market. This is just kind of like dipping my toe in the water, and the idea is the same, right? Let's try to see if this momentum can wane here, and I'll be wrong I'll know that I'm wrong very quickly. Right, so that's kind of me piecing all the puzzles together and where I stand. I'm going to take a deep breath because I've been rambling for a little bit and then come back to chat. When Discord, are you asking about the clinic? That's forever private, bro. That ain't going public. Code doesn't work. That's news to me. Maybe I can DM Mag real quick and ask him. Charlie's on vacation. He usually handles this stuff. So Charlie's out of the office for the next 2 weeks. We can't even ask him about it. Let me ask Magus if he sees anything wrong with the code. I think it may not work for something like credit card payments or something, so you can double check that, but it should work. I know Magus used it like a week or two ago. I didn't stream last week. It doesn't work with okay, well, I guess it doesn't work, guys. I apologize. Maybe next week I'll get it working. Mark is literally dumping as Doc is giving hopium on the first dump. Is it? Did we move? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Bitcoin. You know, to recap, we're bearish on all time frames, right? We're bearish on the daily. We're underneath the weekly trend. We don't have a narrative for crypto specific, so there's no reason for someone to go like, I'm gonna go full port crypto or Bitcoin here. It's a safe haven asset. It's this and it's that. We don't have a proper narrative. The SBR stuff kind of just like fell apart. We're not really talking about that. I don't think Trump cares about that at the moment with everything that's going on. I don't think he's just going to randomly pivot to crypto and be like, yeah, we're going to start buying Bitcoin. So that's kind of out of the woods. So we don't really have anything bullish going for us. The structure's not bullish. The only thing that we have going for us is this level that we've been working with, that I've been trading off of since the end of February, right? I called this level, you know, sometime in the end of February, saying that if we nuke, this would be the level that I want to buy at, right? And this is where I bought at. TP'd, very obvious TP. Shout out Trump for giving me this Sunday pump, right? I probably wouldn't have been able to TP this high without him, so shout out Trump. And we're still holding this framework, right? So that's really all we have going for us. And then number two, the other thing is we are definitively in a moment right now that is bearish, that is uncertain, that is a lot of fear-inducing, right? Markets don't like uncertainty. So we have to ask ourselves, why is Bitcoin holding up, right? And that's the same thing we ask ourselves at every single bottom is, where are the sellers? Where are the sellers? Where are the sellers, right? Usually this takes a lot longer to play out, right? I can't remember. We can go back and look at my buys, but I don't think I bought FTX that day. Actually, I remember I was in Michigan at my girlfriend's mom's house. And I don't think I had my ledgers or anything with me. So I bought like a couple days or weeks later or something like that. So, you know, same thing right here. It's not like I full ported at Japan yen or here. This is actually where I got max exposed, was the October open pullback. Once again, this is that moment where it's like a light bulb going off, but it's not like any type of, bro, take a hero ball trade right now, right? The hero ball trade came later. It came over here. Same thing with FTX. It came later. This one I didn't nail, by the way. This one I was very, very late to. I bought after the Cointelegraph headline. This is where I got exposed. So I didn't nail this bottom at all, but you know, it's the same thing in reverse for tops, right? You start losing trends, you start losing market structure, you start getting overconfidence in bulls and saying we're going X amount higher. There's always higher targets, there's always reasons to be bullish, and then you start reading between the lines of like, if we're so goddamn bullish, why are we losing trends? If we're so goddamn bullish, why are we breaking market structure? If we're so goddamn bullish, why this, why that, right? And it's the same thing in reverse for bears. It's like, if we're so goddamn bearish, why are we not trading 40% lower? Okay. Yeah, like I said, that was a lot of rambling, but hopefully that clears up where I stand and everything like that. And, you know, a little bit of side commentary. I think in these moments, you know, especially on Twitter, there's a lot of people just trading for clout, right? I think I follow like 2 people that are still like trading, you know, publicly, high signal and stuff like that. Everyone's just kind of clout calling. I called this, I called that, you know, you're stupid for being long here. You're stupid for being short here. And that's why I've been over the past year just taking the approach of, you know, just use Twitter to vibe, have fun. And that's a lot of, you know, thanks in a lot part to Magus, who was just like, dude, Twitter's for fun. Like, it's not a serious place. Stop taking it seriously. And that's why I kind of pivoted away from being that guy that people looked at as like, hey, this guy's high signal, this guy's low noise. And now I'm just trying to have fun. So streams are where I want to share my serious thoughts, ideas, long form, talk it through with you guys, answer questions, not really interested in doing it on CT where everyone's just looking to fight and whatever. Okay. Hey, good morning, Zed. Good evening, Finn. What metal plays, if any, are you considering as all-time highs were just recently metal plays? Oh, like gold and stuff. Dude, I don't really trade commodities or stocks that often, right? I have exposure to gold via like physical gold. Like I wear some gold, and that's pretty much it. There's no like silver or gold in my portfolio, right? If I'm bullish gold on a thesis, I'd rather take the speculative bet on Bitcoin, right? And that's what I've done over the past years. Obviously, Bitcoin's tremendously outperformed gold, so it's been a good bet so far. I don't really want to discuss the merits of gold and Bitcoin. That's going to be a whole argument in and of itself. But what I will say is this high time frame trend looks really good. High time frame market structure looks really good. This is a multiple year range break, right? So, you know, what I talked to you guys about a little bit earlier, when you get range breaks, when you get a big bout of consolidation, you break from it, you're looking for momentum continuation in that direction. This would be bearish. This is like, you know, the example that I was giving you with the FTX lows, where we just did this with FTX, right? It didn't really do much and they started dropping back in. This is continued strength. The trend that carried you out of the range is continuing to carry you. So where would I want exposure to gold? If I wanted it, it would again be at the weekly trend. Right? This is the location where I'd probably say, look, if I want to bet on continued upside on gold, this is where I'd do it. Called your mothers. Can the overextended bearish moves on alts can lead to a squeeze? So we need to be very careful when we say squeeze, right? Traditionally, what is the definition of squeeze? It literally means people are getting forced out of their positions. They're betting directionally in one location, and they're getting forced out of their positions in the opposite location. So what we're looking for on something like altcoins right now is, have we run out of active sellers? Have the people that wanted to capitulate their spot capitulated? Have, you know, coins that have VCs and unlocks and stuff, has the selling diminished? Basically, has the supply side kind of stopped overwhelming demand, right? And the way that you visualize that is by this. It goes from this type of thing to this type of thing, right? In these environments, once you've established this, you get those kind of quote unquote squeezes where again, demand can overwhelm the supply, right? And you're seeing that on certain assets. We'll pivot to this again, like FARTCOIN, right? You're seeing this on FARTCOIN, you're seeing this on Grass, where this right here, let me zoom out, it'll be easier to see. This is your capitulation move. This is everyone just panic dumping their bags. This is the remainder of people dumping their bags, which starts getting absorbed. This is that lack of momentum follow through when eventually that supply side starts waning and demand takes over. This is quote unquote what you get for a squeeze. Now, should we get a squeeze on all alts across the market? That's not going to happen without Bitcoin actually going up. If Bitcoin goes to 95K, yes, all altcoins are going to get a quote unquote squeeze, which basically means we'll get a short, brief moment of life across the market. But intrinsically, that's just not going to happen for every altcoin without some factor of that altcoin changing, right? FARTCOIN, completely, you know, it's not a VC coin, doesn't have supply unlocks, doesn't have a steady drip of supply coming out of the market. It's just simple PvP market dynamics. Everyone knows that it's, you know, worthless. Everyone knows it's a meme coin. It has a lot of mind share, which is why it was the first coin to get bid. Again, it also traded down to a very low valuation. I think $100-something million market cap, which makes it easy to kind of allocate towards and move liquidity basis versus something like Pepe, which is trading at 3 billion or 2 billion or whatever it's trading at, right? So that's what we should kind of clarify when we're talking about squeezes. Do you still hold Bitcoin? I have a long-term Bitcoin stack that I don't touch, yes. I haven't sold it. I'd only be looking to add to it. The Bitcoin spot that I picked up recently is more on speculation of a trade. I just kind of don't want to micromanage low time frame moves and stuff like that, and just bought it on spot. Copper has been more exciting. I don't think in the history of me being a trader I've ever opened the copper chart. That's insane. Okay. It's funny. This is the first thing that I see. This has been more exciting. I feel like gold should be more exciting, no? It's a better trend. It's a better trend. It's trading more clean. I mean, if you want to trade copper, you're trading it from a range bound perspective, not a trending perspective. Interesting chart though. Would you look at the point of breakdown setups, as you mentioned, doing a lot less bear market to short coins like Solar, XRP? I think XRP is a good one. I think Sol is a good one. Yeah, so we can pull up Solana and take a look at like an example. So I think Solana would be like 120, right? It's kind of as I've drawn out here, old drawings. Let me clean some stuff up. Actually, we don't even need this anymore. If Solana pushes back up into the bottom side of this 2024 composite value area and gets rejected by the daily trend again, that's going to be an awesome place to take shorts, right? Overdrive maybe to sweep this liquidity. If we start breaking above this area and holding, you can look for a squeeze to the other side, where that's where your daily trend to weekly trend gap fills plays come in. But yeah, for now, this is a really strong downtrend. It's breaking down from value. It's breaking down from the range that it built over here. It's gonna take a lot for Solana to be bullish once again. Is this a place where I'm gonna be taking swing shorts? Probably not. If you want to take low time frame shorts, I think you have a very clear opportunity to do so. So the first place where you'd be looking for is right in this region. Look for the reaction. Obviously, first test, best test. You're looking for a sharp reaction. If you get a pullback, that's going to be your TP area. When it does form, then we could take the trade based on how it sets up, right? In a nutshell, right now, this would be the first point of breakdown region. This is the initiation of momentum on the last down leg. This is the last supply block on the upside. This is where you'd want to see a reaction if you're a bear. So this is where you'd be looking for the reaction. Am I going to be taking these trades? I'm not really interested in taking price action trades anymore. I have not taken price action based trades in a long fucking time. So the way that I'm going to be trading this bear market is probably, if I can't get swing opportunities, which I've gotten literally one swing opportunity over the past like 2 months, and that was this one. Again, first test, best test of the region that we marked out. Insane reaction, again, guided by that Trump pump on a Sunday. If I'm not getting swing setups, I'm trading intraday, right? I'm not looking to trade price action or take SFP trades or anything like that and look for point of breakdown trades and bear market trades. I'm going to be just trading intraday, right? So I'll just do, intraday mean reversion, which is what I've been doing for the past 3.5, 4 months. All jokes aside, bottom shorts have been wiped out aggressively earlier and created a perfect high on TPO. Auction terminated. Thoughts? I don't trade TPO, so I can't give you thoughts on like TPO basis. I wish I could, man. It'd be irresponsible of me to share thoughts based on that when I don't use that in my trading. What I can say though is the thing that you want to trade right here, and it's giving me a little spark, is the failure of breakdown. So if we just flip this chart upside down, right, and we're looking at this from a range bound approach, would you be happy as a bull to trade this breakout and immediately get canned back into the range and have price trading back in here? I don't think you'd want to do that. From a trending perspective, the way that I would trade this is, again, at the daily trend. So if I'm a bull, I'm looking for a pullback into here to play trend continuation. If I'm looking at this in a nutshell, maybe I can speculate on a trade here with my invalidation of this wick. But the thing that I don't love to do anytime I'm taking a trade setup is have my invalidation be another better setup. So if I'm taking a trade here with my invalidation being this wick and price trades all the way down to the daily trend, I'm just going like, why am I getting stopped out into a better setup? Which makes me not want to take this trade. That makes it lower EV for me. So if I flip this whole thing and I look at it from a bullish perspective, I'm not loving what I'm seeing here as a bull, which is why, if you look at this from a bearish perspective, maybe you have an idea of why I think that there's a little bit of something brewing here. But yeah, man, Lucifer, I wish I could give you thoughts on TPO, but I think that you're probably more adept trading that than me. Sounds like you need to join Paragon. You'd master TPO. You know what's funny, Lucifer, is when I joined Paragon, it was March 2023. And the reason for me joining was I was this, we all go through repeated bouts of Dunning-Kruger where you're just like, I know everything, I know nothing. Oh, I think I know everything, I know nothing. So I had done this probably like twice, and I'd reached consistent profitability over like 8 month span. And I did so just using price action and EMAs. And then I go, oh, I'm going to be a giga smart trader. I'm going to learn order flow, and I'm going to learn footprint, and I'm going to learn TPO. And then I went into Paragon and I learned everything from Magus, and I wanted to start trading it. But like I said earlier, you get conflicting things, right? So if I'm getting a signal on TPO that says one thing and an EMA that says another thing, I'm going to go back to what I've already proven to be true over an 8-9 month time frame, right? Which over the years has allowed me to take bits and pieces of what Magus teaches and add them constructively to my system versus taking his entire thing and adding it to my system, right? I'm going to stick into the confines of what I trade well and then look for little edges to help aid what I'm already doing well versus taking someone else's entire thing and then just starting from scratch, because that's not going to work well. And then just adding someone else's entire thing on top of yours is not going to work well either. From a trader's perspective, I think the wise thing to do is take little bits and pieces. You know, I'm not even sure if Magus is currently... Well, I know he stopped using footprints. I think he still uses TPOs. I think he stopped using footprints. Elaboration on FARTCOIN, sure. How long is such a consolidation period after a downtrend supposed to last until we can make a move? Basically, it comes down to flipping trends. So if you look at FARTCOIN, I think it flipped daily downtrend, which allowed it to make a bigger move. Right? So rejection, this is your loss, right? Daily trend was pretty constructive on the way up. That's your loss. That's your rejection, 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 flip, continuation. This is the context that allows you to make bigger moves, right? Now daily trend providing pretty much no value as it's flattened out. You don't really want to stick to using EMAs when they're trading sideways. They're not trending, you know. I think that's a pretty common sense. But yeah, this is the environment that allows you to speculate on more upside, is when you flipped high time frame downtrends. The trend that carried it on the way down is now being flipped. Market structure is flipping more bullish. Do we have bullish market structure here? I wouldn't say so. I'd say this is more of a crab. This is more of a consolidation. So I'd be trading this as a range versus trading this as a constructive, like bullish uptrend. You break out of this mini range, except above these highs in validation, trading back below. Put on a volume profile to make it a little bit cleaner since these highs and lows are a little bit messy. And then you could look to play trend continuation with your sort of, you know, failed auction theory if you start trading back inside. What the? Oh, I think I know. That's why. This cleans up some levels for you. Okay, you wanted expand on FARTCOIN. Where do you see it going in the near long term? What are good entries for the long term, not going back to 20 cents given its strength? I don't think it matters. So whenever something's in an accumulation range, I don't think it's going to be like a lack of strength if it revisits the lows, right? I don't think that's a big deal, right? Can it trade back in here? Of course, right? The FARTCOIN's not going to just continue to trade against the market if literally everything melts down and goes to zero. It's not going to just continue showing strength against everything. Eventually, it's going to run out of people, you know, playing the PvP, you know, hype transfer game. I think I look at this entire thing as an accumulation range. So let's look at the daily, right? So the way that I would draw this out is basically where these levels already are. Range low, range high. We can draw a range mid. We can get rid of the tools here, or the EMAs here. I would look at it basically like this, right? There's your range mid. Here's your range low. Here's your range high. Opportunities to stack FARTCOIN are always going to be, I think, deemed worthy towards range low. So it goes back to 20 cents. I don't think you should be like upset about it. I think that's opportunity if you're bullish on the asset. Let me remind you guys that like one of the best performing assets this cycle was Pepe, and it ranged for 9 months before it started making these giga moves. Right? Look at how many times it revisited the lows. This is kind of reminding me about FARTCOIN right now. So this is Pepe's initial run up. It basically ran up from, you know, zero valuation to $1.4 billion in a bear market, May 2023, dropped 90%, had a massive bounce, right? And then bled out again. had a massive bounce, bled out again. This whole thing turned into a 9-month accumulation range before this thing happened. So trading back into the lows into accumulation range, not a big deal. Did you manage to improve sizing on day trading? How's that process going? Yeah, little by little, not like leaps and bounds or anything like that, but yeah. For me, whenever I want to size up, it's always about my confidence in trading, right? So it's like, if I can display repeated competence, discipline, and basically, it's not even trade execution, it's like trade selection, right? If my trade selection is good enough, that my overall P&L curve is going up and to the right for a long enough time, that's where I can start sizing in. So I pick very key moments as well. So sizing for me is variable. If we're trading with more confluent factors, like let's say, for example, high time frame levels are overlapping low time frame triggers, I'm going to size bigger. If we're getting low time frame triggers, but we're trading kind of in no man's land on high time frame, my size is going to be lower. So that plays a factor in as well. Did you manage to, okay, I already read that. Was your top call on Melania a fundamental call instead of technicals? So taking you back to that weekend, the Trump coin launched, I believe, Friday night. Maybe you guys can remember better. It was either Thursday night or Friday night. And every altcoin in the market did this, like 20, 30% down. Basically, the Trump coin sucked liquidity from the entire market, right? Over the next day on Saturday, I believe, coins recovered. A lot of coins, you know, traded all the way back into their region of that like 20, 30% sell off, whatever this number was. I know it was something monumental. I'm saying 30 in my head. It may not have been 30, it may have been like 15, 20, but it was something pretty brutal. We recovered everything on Saturday. This is where Melania launched. And obviously your brain knows that what just happened with Trump, right? And when Melania launches a shitcoin, not only is it going to, again, suck liquidity from the market, but it's a sign of froth. It's just like, oh, the president launched a meme coin. Okay, maybe there's something bullish there. Maybe, you know, we can onboard some people on a bullish scenario. Maybe more people will enter crypto with capital. Maybe this is our like Dogecoin moment where a bunch of people flood to crypto and, you know, they flush that liquidity across the market. Maybe it's like that, right? But then if 2 days later, another coin like Melania is launching and immediately Trump coin does this and the whole market's doing that, that's just a clear-cut sign of froth in the market. So you've killed the Trump narrative. Now you're just looking extractive, saying that we're just going to launch a bunch of Trump meme coins to extract from the market. And we already know how altcoins reacted to this event. Why are they going to react any differently to this event? So I remember specifically, I was in a Solana long, like I was riding a Solana long this day. And that was the first time in my career that in Silico terminal, I used the nuke all button. So there's a nuke button at the top of the thing that just like deletes all open positions and all orders and everything like that. And I clicked that for the first time ever. I was like, I don't want anything to do with this fucking market. And that was right when Melania launched, maybe like 5 minutes after, you know, I found out or something like that. And I was like, yeah, fuck this. I'm out of this market. I had some spot bags. I think I'd bought Athena spot recently as far as like a high time frame swing trade off of like weekly demand or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the trade was. And there was one more coin that I bought other than Athena at the time. And I immediately market dumped those two. Just get the fuck out of my portfolio. Next bottom in November 2025 and absolute bottom on August 2026. Interesting. You want to share your reasoning? I'm curious. Or you're just throwing stuff out there so that you can come back and screenshot what you said during this stream and post it on Twitter for clout if you're right and no one remembers if you're wrong. One of those type of situations going on. I can't believe Pepe is one of the few coins to put in a higher low. Yeah, interesting, right? I think Grass also. Grass putting in a higher low, right? This is our February low. Here's the next low that we set in March. Obviously, this is how price action looks right now. This is the start of a high time frame accumulation range for me, in my opinion, as well. Right? Range high, range low. Actually, this isn't even that clean. Let me clean this up. Where did I take this from? Here? Let's take it from here. So this is the context of how I'd be trading grass at the moment. I'm not going to be expecting some crazy upside. I haven't bought back any grass spots and selling here. Oh, I think grass was one of the coins. This is also, I think, one of the coins that I was holding during the Melania time, if I remember correctly. This was like just holding right below the listing anchored, and I was like, whatever I have remaining on this position, fuck that. I'm not holding the rest of this. We're losing the listing anchored, which has been support this entire time. If my thesis is based off the listing anchored, we're losing this listing anchored, and we're having the Melania stuff. Yeah, fuck this coin. That was also one of the coins that I nuked during Melania. Low float. What's the magic they're doing? I think it is low float. I think the circulating supply is very low. Do you only buy at range lows during accumulation? I either buy range lows during accumulation if I'm getting those signs like I'm, the light bulb's going off with Bitcoin. Doesn't mean that, it's going to play out that way. But a month down the line, right, if Bitcoin's rounding off, altcoins are rounding off, there'll probably be another sell-off at some point for whatever fucking reason, because there always is. That would be the time that I'd speculate on picking up alts at range low, or I pick them up on high time frame trend flips. So one of the examples I like using is like Render from 2023. Let's see if we can find this exact moment. So take a look at this, right? 2023, when we're breaking out of this accumulation range on Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin had been trading from 25 to 30K for like 6 or 7 months. Render was one of the first coins that bottomed, right, August 17th, and it started forming higher highs and higher lows, right? On the daily market structure flipping bullish, started reclaiming the daily trend, which was basically capping price the entire way down, flipping the weekly trend, flipping the point of breakdown. I'm buying into this trend, right? I bought some, I think, in here, which I think I sold quickly, but this is where I put in the majority of my accumulation. Forgot the exact level that I traded it off. It's something like this. Oh, no. It was this. Right? This was the level that I was accumulating spot Render for this rally. And there's basically, old high time frame range high, confluence with the daily trend. Daily trend already been established as support. I'm not buying the first test of this. I'm buying the second test of this. I'm buying the high time frame flip. And my invalidation is basically daily trend loss, right? And this worked out really, really well. This is all like back when I used to trade on the timeline. I bought this one too right here. First test of the weekly trend, right? Gap fills from daily trend loss to the weekly trend loss, preceded by a lower high, right? So market structure breaks don't always form with clear-cut breaks. A lot of times you can get the kind of, what do you want to call it? The hint that market structure is about to break by putting in first either a higher low or a lower high, right? So this is one of those cases. Lower high forming here. That's what led me to speculate on this possibly happening. And then first test of the weekly, dealt with some chop, continuation. But yeah, so to answer your question in a long-winded fashion, it's not always range low of accumulation ranges. Sometimes it's within the context of the trend. And this one, I talk about often. This was not the one where I caught bottom on markets, was that summer 2023. This is where I had to buy into the trends because I was late to picking up spot. Any advice for good timing? I've noticed I'm usually in flow with the market, but I'm usually way too early to my short long bias and end up taking on fees. Sounds like you have a thesis, but you don't have entry triggers, or you don't have a way to get into the market that allows you to know when you're right or wrong. So I think that's a natural byproduct of not having like a framework in which you're trading in, possibly, right? You're trying to kind of predict swing points or pivot points without having a framework for entries and whatnot. I remember price looking good about a week after Melania. How do you avoid getting bull trapped in situations like that? Okay, so Melania was, I think, mid-January. So let's try to find what mid-January was. Was that this? Nope. That was this. Okay, yeah. This whole thing was Melania weekend, right? Trump Melania weekend. I mean, you just stick to the system, right? If you're taking trades off a daily trend, you take trades off a daily trend. If you're whatever, let's pull up another asset. Solana. Right? If your speculation is, okay, look, we've held the weekly trend. We've broken market structure, right? We've taken out the high that led to the low. We're looking for a higher low. We have confluence of these local range lows. We have confluence of the daily trend. It has widened out a little bit. My invalidation is going to be daily trend loss. So that's, I mean, that's how you, like, you're not getting bull trapped. You're basically taking a trade thesis. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes you're wrong. It's the end of the day. Don't worry about this, like, you know, verbiage of bull trap, bear trap, all this kind of stuff that people like to yap about on social media. If you're taking a trade thesis and you have an idea for it, take that trade. If you're wrong, you're wrong. End of story. Move on. Next trade. Low float is Ohm. Yeah, I had someone ask me about Ohm this morning. Good morning, Nick. How many of the unemployed brothers and sisters in the chat tweeted about decoupling on Friday? Come on, step forward. That's something that I was speculating on Friday as well. Rip me. Supply controlled Ohm as fuck. Yeah. What do you make of the fundamentally stronger gaming coins right now? A few of them have basically had... Wait, what are the fundamentally stronger gaming coins? First of all, there is no fundamentally strong gaming coin, bro. A few of them have basically had a full market cycle. So if the thesis is we trade higher later in the year than a solid bet, no. I don't think gaming at any point this cycle had a narrative. I don't think gaming at any point this cycle had interest whatsoever. If I remember, there's one coin, no, two coins, Prime and something else that had good trends for a bit. Right, this one was pretty solid. I remember a couple of my friends being bullish on this one. I remember buying it somewhere down here, I think. Or maybe, I don't even remember where I bought this. But I owned Prime for a little bit this cycle. And what was the other one? Beam. That was the other one. I didn't own this one, I don't think. But, I mean, do these look good to you? Right, so here's an interesting thing that you should pay attention to, right? So let's use Prime, for example. This is Bitcoin going to 60K, 70K. This is Bitcoin going to 100K. At what point, like, do we think this is any type of good? Right? Should we be looking at coins that set lower highs while Bitcoin did this and went to 100K? I don't think so. I don't think any coin that looks like this is worth caring about, right? If the market doesn't care about it, why should you care about it? This is basically the market telling you fuck this coin. Right? Like, even Link put in a higher high when Bitcoin went to 100K. Big time, big wreckage. I remember big time. I remember big time. Is there something with more price history? I don't think Binance is gonna have the most price history. Oh yeah, wrecked. What are other gaming coins? I'm kind of interested now. Super, yeah, that's a gaming coin. Hey, at least this one made a higher high when Bitcoin went to 100K. GG's, we found one. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to say about this, man. First of all, I think fundamentals in crypto are a meme. That's number one. Any altcoin doesn't really have strong, really fundamentals. I think some, yes, are going to be better than others. Some are complete vaporware. Some have some inkling of bullishness, you know, backing them. But as far as gaming goes, right, think of it this way. Some of these coins trade to ridiculous valuations. Teams get very, very rich by launching coins. Teams have a lot of the supply. They have the means to make a very good game. Indie game studios, right, that launch games on Steam and stuff for free sometimes. Their budget is a lot lower than what these gaming, I'm doing air quotes to say this, gaming companies in crypto make, right? Their budget is a lot lower, but they make pretty good games that people actually want to play. Why has crypto not been able to make one good game that people have been wanting to play? Something we need to ask ourselves. Anyways, I'm not a fundamentals guy. I think you're talking to the wrong person when it comes to fundamentals. I'm a chart guy. I'm a trader. I think if you want, you know, to have a fundamental discussion about crypto coins and gaming coins, I'm probably not your guy, man. That's not where I make my money. That's not what I care about in crypto. Sometimes fundamentals have really good narratives, right? Like AI coin narrative or something like that, and then that leads you, you know, to speculate on that sector. But you know, as someone that's been trading and basically no-lifed crypto since, you know, 2022, have been no-lifing this. Gaming in the last 3 years has not had any narrative. It has been tried to be, it's been, you know, been pushed by some people here and there, but it's never had a narrative this cycle. Mana and Sand. I mean, yeah, in 2021. Pirate was also one of the new gaming coins. This is Pirate, never even heard of that. Gala and Alice, yeah, again, 2021 coins. Real talk, most crypto projects exist only to make money and produce nothing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 100% facts, man. Let me open up the 1 minute chart. All right, brace yourselves for the light charts. Some fun volatility to trade today. Look at Soul Layer. Crime is happening. I've been asked about this coin. I have no idea what Soul Layer is. This one? The Mexi chart. Nice liquidity. Yeah, that's crime. Is this a gaming coin too? I doubt it. From the name, it doesn't sound like a gaming coin. Soul Layer. Is this something with DeFi? Okay, anyways, moving on from this stuff. Let me think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about today. And then I'll come back to chat. We talked about SPX. We talked about Bitcoin. Quickly wanted to cover ETH. And I know ETH is a complete meme, but I think this is a clean level right here on ETH. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got a pretty decent bounce or pretty decent trade off here. Where that trade leads to, probably not much, probably a lower high. We'd be lucky to get this like retest of 1900, but very clean level on ETH. You know, we haven't had one to work with in a little bit. Right, we have a weekly level right around 2K, psychological 2K level too. But anyways, another 30% sell off from there. This was very strong. So in 2023, we used 1500 as support for multiple months, all the way in Q1 and all the way in Q3, Q4, and that was kind of our launch pad for the you know 4K push, right? So we're trading back into that level. I don't think this is just gonna, you know, nuke right through. You know, maybe crab here would be the least bullish case, right? Or maybe a little bit of a bounce and recovery. So I think it's a very significant level to pay attention to on ETH. For the first time in multiple months, is coming into an interesting level. Now, yeah, it's ETH. Who cares? You know, why trade it? But if I had to compare at the moment in a nutshell, if I wanted to trade a major that wasn't Bitcoin, I would probably prefer to trade ETH off this level versus trying to trade Solana. Where I look at Solana and I just go, I really don't know what I'd be trading this off of at the moment, right? This is such a significant level lost at 120 that I wouldn't be surprised if Solana showed a little bit more weakness relative to the market in the current environment. Stream sell doesn't work for both card and crypto payments. All right, guys, I apologize. I think so Charlie's on vacation right now. He's actually in the US with his family. So he's not going to be back for a couple weeks. I think maybe at least another 10 days. So 10 days from now, we might have another, you know, discount for Paragon. But if that code's not working, I really don't know what to do because I don't handle any of that stuff. I don't do any of the accounting. I don't do any of the stuff. That's all Charlie, man. So he has all the access to the promos and everything like that. It's soul restaking. All right. Much higher market cap now versus Eigen. Dude, what happened to the Solana L2? What was that thing called? There was like something that people were talking about that was like the first Solana L2. Was it like Plasma or it started with a P? I forget what it was called, but I remember that being super hyped up. I think early 2024 people were talking about that a lot, and I haven't heard about it in multiple months. What's that half setup on TV that you do, and how do you do it? Right here. So click this. This will give you one chart. This will give you two, you know, side by side. This will give you two higher and lower. I don't know. Can you guys see this on stream? Yeah, you can. Okay. 3 charts, 4 charts, 5 charts, whatever. So just change your thing from 1 chart to 2 charts, and then you could click this button at the bottom and open up another layout. So I have my like low time frame layouts. I have my high time frame layouts. I use different tooling for both of these. I'm trying to make a habit of sticking to the dark charts for the streams because I know it's easier on everyone's eyes. I personally prefer light charts, but hey, that's just me. I'm a masochist. ETH has a yearly level nearby? That's insane, bro. I tweeted this out, but I had a alert go off on ETH, and I think I was looking for like a 4-hour trend trade or something all the way back in here. I can't remember what I was exactly looking for. Maybe I set it underneath this. No, it wasn't there. It was at 1500. So I can't remember exactly what I was looking for, obviously like 2 years ago, but I think it was something to do with the 4-hour trend in this region. And I had the alert go off fucking yesterday. It's mind blowing. I'm like, holy shit, we're trading all the way back down here. Anyways, yearly level. Oh my God. Like 1200. TRX, that's actually a good shout. TRX is one of the few coins that is crime ridden and up only and holding weekly trends. And yeah, what do you say about TRX, man? This has been holding the weekly since the bear market bottom. Probably, yeah, no, I'll say that with confidence. The best trending asset of this cycle. Not the best returns, obviously, right? But the best trending asset of this entire cycle has been fucking Tron. It's held the weekly trend since the FTX bottom. I don't think a single person outside of Justin Sun owns Tron, which is probably why it looks like this. He probably just like baits some people to trade, dumps on their fucking head. I'm talking completely out of my ass here, so don't, you know, for those of you guys that are new to markets, don't take that as like, you know, gospel. But yeah, I mean, betting against a trend that looks this good is very tough to do. Several weeks of consolidation at the weekly trend. No market structure break yet. So now we come down to lower time frames, and you kind of look at it's just setting lower highs throughout this entire thing. Is this our first higher low relative to this, right? So I think your invalidation for being long here is basically trading underneath this low, which I believe would be confluent with losing the weekly, right? So for trend continuation, you could make a high time frame invalidation for now instead of tightening it up underneath this low, or you could wait for a higher high to form, right? So what would that look like? Here's your low. Here's your high that led to the low. If we take out this high, then you can look for a pullback, invalidation here, look to play this market structure on the way up. For now, if you just want to like buy spot or something with a really wide stop, I would put it like all the way under here. Eclipse, that was what it was called. Eclipse, that was the Sol L2, right? Solana doesn't need any L2. I don't think L2 is a good idea anyways. It's not a good scaling solution. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what Eclipse was supposed to be. Solana L2. Are you talking about the Fire Dancer client for Solana? No, it's Eclipse. Eclipse is what I was talking about. 2023 yearly open around 1200. What if we get there? I mean, I think it's very possible. We go back to ETH real quick. It's hard to say that it won't, right? It's hard to say that we won't at least get back to like 1,000 at least, right? Even if we get a pump here, right? If this eventually breaks down, you're gonna get $1,000 ETH. But I have a hard time believing we're just gonna knife through 1,500 first try. I have a feeling you'll get a little bit of like exhaustion here, and a little bit of relief. 140 viewers, only 7 likes. I appreciate you guys. You could hit the like button. Let me be the cringe guy that asked for likes, but do me a solid. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Costs you nothing. You can always unsubscribe later. But yeah, I appreciate that, guys. Tron is so funny to me. I want to short it because of the rounding candles on the daily. I mean, short it when the weekly trends are lost, and then you might get a swing trade. Can you? Oh, nice. I mean, it's not that hard to just click these buttons, right? It's funny that every stream someone tells me about some TradingView shortcut I didn't know about. I still don't even use, how do I even do this one? It's like shift click? No. Control click, command click. There it is. Yeah, to open between these two. This is actually really handy. I should use this one more. Say the bottom in equities is today. Best bet on the top of the accumulation range if we're chopping the whole quarter and bottom around 75 US equities. I would just gonna go off of like a bearish trend retest. So what I would say is the top of this bounce, if this is a Pico bottom, would be confluent with the daily trend. So wherever this ends up, maybe fill in this gap or something, daily trend rejection, that would be your top. Then from here, you're trying to set a higher low. If you set a lower low, you're looking for weakening drives, kind of like how this was doing, right? Only nominally kind of lower low. It didn't really do anything substantial. If I remember, there's a really clean, yeah, monthly level here. Check this out. Honestly, too clean of a monthly level. Are you in any trade right now? I picked up a little bit of Bitcoin spot. That I'm taking as a trade with an invalidation. I'm not just like accumulating Bitcoin for the sake of accumulating Bitcoin with no invalidation and hold it till it goes to 0. So yeah, I'm in kind of like a Bitcoin long position through spot. Has Doc gone through hype? I haven't. That's a good call though. Let's go through hype in a minute. What's the command click shortcut? I'm on Mac, so it's control click. Control click. You can go through the different layouts. Oh, okay. You meant to say if the bottom is in on US equities is in today, what would be the best bet for the top of the Bitcoin accumulation range if we keep chopping for Q2? Probably mid-range, which is like 95K. Probably around here. I think, so here's my speculation. If the Bitcoin bottom is, or excuse me, yeah. If the equities bottom is in, we may turn into some bullshit like this, right? Where we actually drive all the way up into this region again, get people very excited. Meanwhile, altcoins still look like dog shit, and this leads to nothing. We drive all the way back down to these lows again, right? That would be kind of more of my speculation. I'm looking at this entire thing as a range, right? I have my range high, range mid, range low in this context. That's the way I'm looking at it. What did I miss? I missed a couple questions, I think. The red candles, it's high delta. It's just, you could look at it as like higher relative volume versus the standard volume done on any specific day. Sometimes they light up, meaning more intensity of selling was done on a specific day, right? The delta of selling versus buying was much higher. in a nutshell, the way that I use these is like, I'm not thinking about them in a technical manner and defining. I'm using them as an effort indicator. Is the effort that is being done being rewarded? If it's not being rewarded, there's probably a reversal trade here. If it is being rewarded, there's probably a continuation trade here. That's how I look at, you know, the off-colored candles that show up as blue and red sometimes. Isn't that Magus' thought process on Twitter? What, the range stuff? Me and Magus are sometimes, it's very funny, are aligned in our ideas, even though I don't much watch his content anymore. Like when he does Paragon streams, I'll come in and just vibe with the homies and stuff like that. Oftentimes I miss his like outlooks and stuff. So I don't really know where he stands day to day anymore, right? It hasn't been like that in a year or maybe longer. I think he does the same thing for me. He doesn't give a shit when I'm trading or how I think about the markets, you know, as every trader should. That's the way that it should be. But funny enough, we are aligned in ideas, I think, more times than we're, you know, not aligned in ideas. Grass and FARTCOIN strong? Yeah. Strongest coins on my watch list. Let's see if we're missing anything. I need to clean up my watch list, dude. I haven't even gone through this part in months, like maybe since December. So like, why is it even on my watch list? I look through these coins. Actually, I don't even look at FET. That shouldn't even be on here. I don't look at AIXBT. Yeah, you know what? I'm not even looking at like half of these coins either. I'm literally 99% of the time just looking at Bitcoin nowadays, because that's pretty much all I trade. Okay, someone asked about hype. Let's do Hyperliquid. What I wanted to see on Hyperliquid was, or was it this move? I wanted to see this move right here holding as the lows, because this was an intrinsic kind of, what do you call it? Like FUD event for Hyperliquid, right? It was an event that was unique to Hyper. It wasn't a market, you know, move. It was some specific FUD specific to Hyperliquid. A lot of times bottoms can form when fear gets absorbed, right? So if I'm just looking at this in a nutshell and I'm saying, hey, look, this is a pretty good level right here, swing lows, we use this as a bottom already. This is a massive, massive puke right here. Can we continue in the face of this fear, round off and trade above the origin of this impulse? No, we can't. Okay, probably momentum's going to continue. Now we're trading below these lows on KuCoin. I don't think I can have access to a higher time frame chart on, yeah, on Trading View. I don't have access to more data. Nope. Just thought I would double check. So this isn't an accumulation. There's no level for me to work with because I don't have the data. I know that it traded up from $3, so there's probably some levels in here that I can't view where I could speculate on maybe another bottom forming. But as far as this goes right now, this is not rounding. This is not bottoming. This is not lack of momentum. This is simply a downtrend, right? This is making lower highs and lower lows. This is simply a downtrend, right? If it spent the next couple months doing something like this, then I would say this is starting to form a range, an accumulation range. We're not breaking down. We're spending several months in this location. We've rounded off. We're setting some higher lows and higher highs. We've flipped this daily downtrend from being a downtrend to now the daily trend is just kind of being flat. This is the right contextual environment to say that something like this is bottom. This applies for every coin in your guys' watch list. Just kind of use the same framework for every single coin. What do you do to find alts to trade? I don't trade alts anymore. I used to be the guy that would trade altcoins and never trade Bitcoin. And over the past like 8 months, it's been the opposite. I've been just kind of trading Bitcoin and not trading altcoins. Altcoins for me are kind of like vehicles to get exposure to the market in a risk-defined manner that'll exceed the gains of Bitcoin when I'm speculating on a Bitcoin uptrend. So if I'm bullish on Bitcoin breaking out of last summer's range, I'm not buying spot Bitcoin, I'm buying spot altcoins, right? Because I'm looking for those altcoins to outperform the upside that Bitcoin is providing. In any other given moment nowadays, I'm just going to trade Bitcoin. I'm not really worried about going through the watch list, finding 10 altcoins, looking for setups, trading those altcoins. I'm trying to keep my work-life balance as simple as possible, and just trading Bitcoin is allowing me to do that. Last summer, I traded a lot of like Solana and ETH too, but I'm slowly just phasing that out as well and just kind of trading Bitcoin only. All of those coins in your watch list, are you kind of screening them manually for setups? Do you have a screening process? No. So this is pure laziness. None of these altcoins matter to me anymore. Like straight up. Like I'm looking at FARTCOIN once in a while. I'm looking at Hyperliquid once in a while. Look at Pepe once in a while. Solana, Grass, Barra. As you guys know, the day Barra launched, I got a 2x off that. So I traded that day one. I'm not trading Barra right now. Ondo is one that I pay attention to because for some reason or not, this is still not looking the worst compared to other coins. So I look at some coins on this, but I'm not interested in buying spot on any of these yet, and I'm not interested in trading them yet either. I missed some opportunities to short, and I was kind of in my like honeymoon phase, I guess you could call it, like achieving what I wanted to achieve after, you know, putting medicine on the side, dedicating myself full time to crypto, no life in crypto, spending 18 hours a day at the charts, not sleeping well, having anxiety, all these things. To me, that was like my Super Bowl moment, meaning like I've been training for this for many, many years. So selling and moving and getting a house and moving across the country and doing all these things is kind of like where my brain has been at. It hasn't been like, let's re-lock in immediately and continue trading and look to take swing shorts. I've kind of just been back burner, honeymoon period, chilling, taking intraday trades on Bitcoin where I can. That's where I've been at. So yeah, I mean, in hindsight, you look at this and I'm just like, dude, I left so much money on the table not trading this the other way. I didn't take a single short. I didn't do any of this stuff, you know? So in hindsight, it feels bad, but I'll remember it for next time, right? I'll remember it for next time and be like, is there a way for you to lock the fuck back in? Because it ain't over yet. What sucks is the large spot bids on Hype got pulled. Didn't notice that, but yeah, that sucks. RIP, have to go on Hyperliquid Dex for full chart. Yeah, I think I can do it on Dex Screener too, but too lazy to pull up Dex Screener. SPX Murad, BS meme holding range quite well too. That's interesting. Let's look at that. Nah, there's more data. I know there's more data. There we go. I don't know when I drew these doodles, but drew these doodles. Yeah, you know, the positive thing here, so if we take off the trends, right, and we look at this in a nutshell, what's happening? This is bearish market structure, right? Going up from the highs, higher highs, excuse me, lower highs and lower lows, lower highs and lower lows. Here is the high that led to this low. Taking out this high is your market structure break in a nutshell, right? Dropping back down, confluence of range lows, and trying to set a higher low is constructively bullish market structure, right? So you're going to try to form or break out of this consolidation, and if you do, to the upside, you're looking for a higher high. That and the confluence that you have is, again, yeah, the high time frame sort of range low. That's what you're looking for on SPX right now. But I agree with you, yeah. As opposed to other coins, it definitely looks better. It's not setting lower lows. It's attempting to set a higher low. Can we take a look at BNB? Sure. Oh, my coffee's cold now. Shame. It doesn't look like TRX. Why? TRX has been holding the weekly trend for 2 years. Wait for this shit to load. Has anyone else's trading view been a piece of shit today? Because mine has been terrible. So there's a 2-year uptrend on the weekly on TRX. So let's quickly keep that in mind. Go back to BNB and look at this. Not an uptrend, right? The highs that led, or the lows that led to this high are broken. The weekly trend has been traded under. We're now using the weekly trend as resistance in this location. Definitely not as good as TRX. 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 Bitcoin's the only thing worth trading these days? I think it is, because I think it's trading very clean. It's trading very, very clean. It's getting very high hit rate signals. The low time frame has been really clean. The volumes have been good. I think Bitcoin, you know, I mean, I'm not going to speak for anyone. For me, I think it's the only thing that it's worth my time nowadays. Yes, other altcoins are going to make bigger moves. FARTCOIN's going to have a 20% move. Bitcoin's going to have a 1 or 2% move. So yeah, there's definitely, you know, worthwhile trading certain assets. And I think FARTCOIN is probably one of the only ones that I would recommend trading outside of Bitcoin, because it's being resilient. It's giving massive upside, and you can almost mentally do this thing where if you're bullish on Bitcoin, you just trade FARTCOIN, right? For upside. Good morning, Nexus. Long time no see in the stream, man. Hope you're well. Look at XRP, sure. Murad is Jesus confirmed. Let's pull up XRP. How come you chose to trade just BTC? Okay, so I see the rest of your question. But for me, when I wanted to switch away from trading 1 hour charts and 4 hour charts and try to learn to build competence trading intraday, which meant trading 1 minute charts, I need to trade with a different set of tooling, right? I'm not going to be using EMAs on the 1 minute. I'm not going to be using market structure breaks and liquidity sweeps on the 1 minute. You know, so the tooling has to change. It's more of going to be a flow-driven environment, a more volume data-driven environment. And there's different tools that worked better for that. Now, if you go to other coins, right, let's even pull this up on the 1 minute. I bet you it still looks, well, FARTCOIN looks liquid, but if you look at any other coin on the 1 minute, they're going to be pretty illiquid. Maybe I'm giving some bad examples here, but most of the time, altcoins on the 1 minute chart are not going to trade as well. They're not going to give you to access as much data on 1 minute time frames, and they're not going to respect the system as well. So when I go through what I said at the top of the stream, and I said this at the top of the stream, if you guys want to rewind, feel free, but whenever I add stuff to my system, it goes like this. This is where I work in. This is the tooling that I use for any kind of trade setups I look across the market, right? This is my bag, right? If I want to add something into this, what I'm doing initially is opening up a different trade account, applying new rules to this trade account with the new tools, right? And I'm testing this trading account against this one. And if I can, over a 3-month span, right, of testing new tooling, derive that I am gaining something, right, I'm going to add it to the base system. Now the base system has this new tooling. If it's not, I don't add it. So in the process of last summer, when I started trading low time frames, I was trading not only Bitcoin, but I was trading Solana, I was trading ETH, I was trading Pepe, I was trading other coins in this thing. And I noticed that my hit rate was highest on ETH and Bitcoin. ETH had the highest hit rate. ETH was number 1. But I think that was a factor of me trading ETH more than Bitcoin last summer. I was trading ETH a lot for some reason. That's just what I was doing. So I recognized that majors had a much higher hit rate than altcoins. So then I just basically was like, why would I trade altcoins if I have a lower hit rate using the system versus majors? I'm just going to trade majors. And then to make my life easier at the current time being, I'm just picking one asset. So I don't have to look at 3 charts. I'm just looking at one. So it's kind of just like an ease of simplicity of when I wake up in the morning, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly what routine to go through. I know exactly what I'm looking for. If I get those signals, great, I'll trade it. If I don't get those signals, I guess I'm not trading today. End of story, move on to the next day, right? Go on with my day. But you are correct. I did say those things that you said in chat verbatim. I did say that why would I want to trade an asset traded by the best minds in the industry and increase the level of difficulty? And I think this may be, you know, a pat on my own back is probably back then, one, I was completely lacking the confidence to do so and even attempt, meaning like, I'm not good enough to do this. Why would I even attempt to do that, right? So that's probably where that came from. And number 2, I probably wasn't as good as a trader. I mean, I can definitively say that wasn't as good of a trader probably 2 years ago, even a year ago, as I am today. Like, so, and how did I overcome this like mental hurdle of saying like, I can't trade Bitcoin or I can't do this or I can't do that, is by fucking doing it, right? Spending 6 months last year while people are enjoying their summer vacations, me being locked in as much as I can and trading intraday. and gathering data and building competence and building confidence so that the next time this environment rolls around, boom, I pull this system out of my back pocket and I'm already have the confidence to trade it, right? So anything in life, put in some hard work, test it, refine it, prune the things that don't work, and you know, once you have a statistical significant data set that proves that you can do something well enough, fucking do it. And all it comes down to is, you know, confidence and execution. Anyways, moving on from that. Trading views been buggy. Yeah, I agree. Trading view sack of garbage. Yep. Would you say this current Bitcoin selling was controlled? I wasn't awake last night, but we can look at it from hindsight perspective. I would say this is a bit sell climaxy. It's definitely not the high volumes, right? It's a bit of lower volume overnight trading in Asia session versus something that you would see in New York session. So taking advantage of a little bit of a lower liquidity environment to push price down a little bit further. But I wouldn't signify this as either controlled or a capitulation. I don't think it fits in either of those cases. So what does controlled selling look like? Controlled selling looks like stepwise supply entering, right? It's basically, you know, we sell off, we get a bit of recovery, we sell off, we get a bit of recovery. So it's like the step ladder selling. This is controlled selling, right? This is more so diagnosed on like higher time frames, 15-minute charts, 1-hour charts, stuff like that. That's where you really see this come into play. On 1 minute, it ended up just being this shit, right? When we sell off in a really dramatic fashion, which is what we did right here, right? This is pretty dramatic selling. I wouldn't say this is like control, steady selling. This is like 4% down move in like an hour. Cucked myself out of 7-figure P&L. I mean, that's still, if you didn't make 7 figures, you probably made 6. So congratulations. Matic still going to $100. I doubt Nexus ever said Matic's going to $100. When you go into split mode, the right chart has those little dots. What are those? What? Oh, these? These are market order bubbles. You can add them to your charts. Oh yeah, XRP. Someone asked about XRP. Forgot about that. The framework that I've been using on XRP has been a range, confluence with the weekly trend, right? So this is basically, I mean, all markets are in the same situation right now, falling off a cliff, right? So if we just look in a nutshell where every single asset is, like I said, ETH at very significant support at 1500. We use this level all of 2023 as support, right? Bitcoin sitting at range lows, right? SPX down 22%, trading at the bottom of the weekly trend. We go on and on. Pepe, range lows, right? So a bunch of assets are at support. Same thing with XRP. It's sitting at high time frame support, right? First significant thing to understand, that this support on XRP is probably going to hold if Bitcoin holds, if the stock market holds. In a nutshell, it's probably not going to do it itself, right? It's going to need the confluence of the rest of the market. Number two, we swept liquidity. So this is the capitulation all the way back from February, right? Led to really strong recovery. This is a very very strong data point, right? Not statistical. I don't know how that came out of my mouth, but very strong data point is the high time frame liquidity taken. And we're going to want to see a good recovery here. So this is the daily charts. Let's go down to the 4 hour now and see the point of breakdown, right? So the initiation or volatility initiated from here, right? This type of region. This is also going to be your market structure break. This is also your point of breakdown. What you want to see XRP do on this recovery is not basically round off right here and roll over. You're going to want to see this break through this level, right? This is going to be a very strong recovery if you break through this level, because it allows you now to speculate on a higher low relative to this low to take longs for maybe higher upside. And that looks like XRP is holding again the weekly trend and the high time frame range low, right? So that's what you're going to want to see basically from here on XRP. It's probably not going to do it itself. I think Bitcoin and literally everything else in the market is in this same scenario, right? We're all holding hands together in the same scenario right here. But as far as XRP goes, in a nutshell, right? Weekly trend, high time frame range low. Took liquidity. Did we cover Solana? Yeah, covered Solana. I wish Doc had a Discord. I mean, I'm in several Discords. I just don't have a public, like, you know, chat Discord. I don't have time for it either, man. Real talk. Like, if I did like a public group at this point, I think it would just be Telegram, and it would just be me posting, right, and not like chatting. I just don't have enough time. Like, I have my own Discord group. Shout out the clinic if anyone in here is, you know, hanging out, you know, listening to the stream. But like, you can ask those guys. I don't even have time to hang out in there anymore, right? I've got a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm trying not to be a 16, 18 hour a day at the desk bum anymore, right? Bum is not the right word, but I'm trying to have a little bit better work-life balance, and managing everything I already have is time consuming enough, and to add something else to it is just impossible. Awesome, man. Manfi? That's good to hear, bro. What does controlled selling implicate? It's in the name, bro. It's just controlled selling. Someone's swapping out of their position. They're just dumping slow and steady onto the market, and they're dumping into no counterparty that's willing to soak that selling, right? Here's a good example, right? Do you guys remember Germany selling last summer? So Germany announced that they're liquidating their entire Bitcoin position. This is Germany selling. They would sell in tranches. The market would know that they're selling. They're not going to sit there and absorb Germany selling. They would wait for Germany to either stop selling for the day or whatever it is, get a bit of recovery, understand that Germany's not done selling. They still have like 80% of their stack to liquidate. And this is slow and steady controlled selling on the way down. What did the market do? Here's a little bit of, you know, alpha for you guys that you could pay attention to in the future if this ever happens again. Is when we got down to these points right here with the Germany selling stuff, and we're actually trading in this region, I believe they had already sold like 70% of their stack. They had like 30% remaining, and they were selling 70% over, you know, whatever this time frame was. They had 30%. They started slamming the last 30%, meaning they were selling at an increased rate. They were selling more per day, right? They were selling more at a time. But did the market react that way? No, it started absorbing it. It started understanding, hey, they have less and less and less supply to sell. We're sitting in a location that's already attractive. They've taken us from range highs all the way down to range lows. Now is the time to be a little bullish, because we know that when they're done selling, there's probably a trade here, right? And that's how the market started reacting to it. Whereas Germany's selling went up, it increased in the amount that they were selling per day. The reaction on the chart went down, meaning we weren't as, you know, we weren't selling off as brutally versus selling less and selling off more. This is an actionable divergence in the market that you're seeing. Whereas like you would expect more velocity, but it actually turned out to be less, which gives you a trade thesis to trade the opposite direction. That's an example of controlled selling. I'm a 16-hour at the desk bum, Doc. Any advice for having a life and a wife? Well, first of all, if you have a girlfriend and she's supporting you through this process, she's a keeper. And if and when you do make it, you owe her a lot in thanks. That doesn't mean buy her material items, but, you know, try to make up for the time that you lost. If you don't have a wife right now and you don't have a girlfriend right now, there's no way to get a new one. There's just no way to manage it, right? If you're spending 16 hours a day working, you have no time. Right? So just forget about it. And as far as a life goes, you're not going to have a life. I didn't have a life for 2 years. I didn't see my friends. I barely traveled. I didn't do anything on weekends. To me, a Saturday felt just like a Monday, felt just like a Sunday, felt like just like a Tuesday. My sleep went to shit, right? I sacrificed a lot for the past 2 years to get where I wanted to be. and be prepared for what I believed to be another bull market coming, which we got over the past few years, and to be good enough at a few things to be able to extract value from it. So the whole thing for me was sacrifice now, enjoy a little bit later. If you make stuff, this is an opportunity that's worth taking, or a chance that's worth taking. So if you're in that same boat, yeah, man, I'm not going to tell you, there's no way to manage it. I didn't manage it. So what advice do I have? I didn't manage shit. All I got lucky with was I had a girlfriend long term. Like, we've been together since we were, 18. And she went with me through this. And obviously there's times where, like, she's not happy, like, that I'm just being a bum and shit, right? But she understood at the same time that I'm on a mission, and she supported me through the entire thing. So if you have someone like that, cherish them, bro. That's the only advice. And just like that, Sol will never go below $100. Wasn't it below $100 like 3 hours ago? Social life, work, family, pick two. Yeah, pick one. Exactly, bro. That's the thing. Like, if you're trying to get ahead in work, I mean, you can have a family in a social life, can't you? Well, actually, I have friends that they have 2 kids. One's 3, one's 1, or 2.5 and 1. And yeah, they kind of have no social life. So yeah, I maybe family and social life not possible when they're young. But yeah, if you're trying to get far ahead in work, like, screw trading, anything you're doing, you have to dedicate a lot of time to it, because a lot of people want promotions. It's competitive. A lot of people want to get ahead. A lot of people want the high paying jobs. You have to compete with people. You have to put in more work than them. You have to be smarter than them. You have to be faster than them, stronger than them, whatever you're trying to do. And how does that happen if you're doing the same thing as everyone else? It's not going to happen, man. If that, the people that are having a social life and trying to get ahead in work, right? They're leaving reps on the table, or whatever the fucking phrase is, man. I'm bad with metaphors sometimes, but there's someone else out there that's like, yeah, fuck a social life. I'll put in extra hours, right? I'll get ahead of that guy. While he's out on a date, I'm grinding. Fuck that guy. I'm going to beat that guy, right? And I think that's the mentality you need to have to get ahead in life, not just in trading, but in literally anything. But with that, I think we can call the stream there. I think if you guys came to the stream a little bit late, I shared a lot of thoughts on the market, where we stand, trade ideas, what I'm looking for, correlations between the S&P 500 and Bitcoin in a nutshell, some other altcoins, where I stand, all these kind of things, right? That's all in like the first half an hour before we opened it up to a little bit of Q&A. And then, obviously sometimes people ask really good questions, which I think are educational for everyone that's listening in. So I think that's a lot of value throughout the stream too. And again, if this is your first time here, everything gets timestamped. So if you want, you can come back tomorrow, wait for the timestamps to be up, and then just click around to whatever you're interested in listening to, and you can listen to those things if you don't want to listen to the full 2 hours. I'll see you guys next week. It's good to be back. Taking last week off, I kind of needed that, but it's good to be back, and I'll see you guys next week on Monday. Cheers, fam.
You think I wanna fall in love when I'm not, babe? You want a life as a wife, but that's not my day. You be at home all alone looking at the rain. I'm just gonna tell